Good evening and welcome to This Happy Guru. My name is Kirsty Bentley Taylor and I'm the host of this show. We are in the middle of our series about ancient antidotes, and today I'm thrilled to be talking about ayahuasca, which has kind of been on my conscious peripheral for about the last 15 years. When I was traveling in South America, I kind of heard loads of folklore stories about it, and good and bad stories, to be honest. People coming through with some personal experiences that were a little bit scary, other people saying that it was mind-blowing and had changed their lives, and that, it was something super, super spiritual. And at the time, it really sparked my interest. And I kind of started putting out feelers as to finding my own shaman and how I could do this. And it became super hard. It became about having to go deep into the jungle. It became about really having to track down shaman, really going into little villages and returning back to the conversation about ayahuasca. So I was saying that before, when I was traveling in South America around 15 years ago, looking for a shaman who could guide you through the experience of ayahuasca was really kind of hard. There weren't so many people doing it. It wasn't something that I'd ever even heard of outside of Brazil, where I was currently traveling. And it was more about folklore. It was more about a mystical medicine that you could experience deep in the jungle. And I was really, my curiosities were sparked. I was actively looking for a shaman. And then, as it does, my life journey kind of changed, and I ended up diverting off course and heading north rather than south. But it's always remained on the peripheral of my conscious experience in this life. It's kind of just always come in and dropped in, and yet I've never really had the opportunity to experience it. And so I'm thrilled tonight to be talking about the ancient antidote that is ayahuasca. It's been heralded recently as being perhaps a gateway drug to relieving depression and psychophysical diseases, if you like MS, like Parkinson's disease.
Well, that's a bit of a story, and it's very interesting. The first experience I had was just like, it was so many synchronicities. It was incredible. But, I first find out about it. I watched a BBC program. It must have been like 15, 17 years ago with Bruce Parry. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had a series of these documentaries about Amazon, and in one of the episodes he was drinking ayahuasca, and I saw that and I jumped out of my seat. I was like, oh my God, I need to try this. But back those days it was not something that you would have heard of in Europe. So I basically imagined I'm gonna have to travel to the Amazon just like he did and so on. And, I was in my 20s and, I wasn't earning much money, and I thought, oh, one day, I'll go. And I had this dream. And I left it for a while. And then I met my husband, Robert. And I remember one day we were living in London at the time, we were sitting in our house and we were discussing our dreams. And I said to him that I've always had this dream that I'm going to go to the Amazon and I'm going to try this thing called ayahuasca. And he's like, no way, me too. How did you find out about it? It turned out we watched the same program. And that's how we both heard of it. So, we thought, okay, well, maybe one day we'll go. And we started thinking of going volunteering to South America, maybe go traveling for a while. Within a couple of weeks, I caught up with a friend that I haven't seen for a long time on Facebook. And, we just catch up and I asked him how he's doing. He said he moved to Bali. And I said, what made you go to Bali? He was like, oh, you wouldn't believe what happened. I had this thing called ayahuasca, and she told me exactly what to do. She gave me a step-by-step business plan, and she told me to go and set up this healing center in Bali. I was like, no way, what's happening? And I said, where did you have it? Did you go to the jungle? He's like, no, you can get it in Europe. I was like, oh my God, you got to give me the contacts. Yeah. So he told me where to go. I contacted this lady in Spain, who was organizing ceremonies. And, she said, yes, we have a ceremony happening in a couple of weeks, but it's fully booked. So I'll put you on a waiting list. A couple of days later, she calls me and she says, we had this couple who canceled. So we said, okay, we're going. And amazing thing was that the moment we walked into the place, we were very excited to go there. The first person we met, we were way earlier than everyone, was Bruce Parry. No. He was invited to that ceremony. And I'm like, I poked Robert. I was like, yeah. Look at that.
Wow.
So we had a long chat with him about his experiences as well. And he's a lovely person, by the way, really, really great guy. So that was our first experience. So that was 7.5 years ago. And the first ceremony we had with the Brazilian shaman who came over, and he's a Santo Daime priest. So Santo Daime is a religious movement in Brazil, which it's kind of a fusion of a Christianity with the worship of the plants as well, which is very interesting. So they have this, like a mass ceremony where they believe in God and, Jesus and Maria and angels and so on, but they drink ayahuasca. So Santo Daime, I think it's one of a couple groups that are basically legally allowed to conduct ceremonies in many countries, including in UK, I think, as well. So we were sort of initiated by this Santo Daime practice, and when that ceremony finished, we basically both looked at each other. We're like, okay, we're going to the jungle. So we really felt like we needed to go right to the source. So we started planning our trip, and amazing things happened because it was almost as if it was our destiny, like everything started aligning exactly for us to go. Like we both got a pay rise. I started getting amazing tips at work, and it was just like everything was paving the path. It was amazing. Meanwhile, we had some more experiences in Europe, but end of 2011, we went to Peru. So that was, I mean, that's a long story in itself.
Yeah. No, that's right. I love it that the universe basically contrived to get you there.
Incredibly.
I agree. But when things like that happen, that you're on the path, don't you? You know that you're going in the right direction, irrespective of whether you're in a good place or a bad place. Ultimately, you know that this is your destiny, like you say. So what made you choose Peru? And Peru, I know there's a lot going on there, and kind of that's where the majority of the plants grow and all that sort of thing. It does spill out over into the border of Colombia and Brazil because obviously, plants, they know no borders. But what were you drawn to this shaman particularly that you studied with? Because you lived there for 6 months, didn't you, in the jungle with your...
Yeah, so basically we didn't really know where to go or where to start. So we started looking for these volunteering opportunities. We couldn't really find anything. And then I'm not sure how, but we came across organization that was doing basically like ayahuasca journeys. So we basically booked this trip. It was like a 2 weeks trip around the Sacred Valley, including like visiting Machu Picchu and places like that. And within that trip, there was several ceremonies with different shamans and different practices. There was ayahuasca. There was also San Pedro ceremonies, which is a cactus with slightly similar properties. So we booked this trip, and we thought, okay, we had like open ticket, so we didn't know when we're gonna come back, but we thought we'll start with this trip and we see how we go. At least we'll get to meet some people. We'll get to meet some shamans, which, according to the description of that journey, were well-known, well-respected, trusted shamans, because that's also important. So we started with that, basically. And towards the end of our trip, it was one really massive ceremony that we went to in a place called Pisac, that's near the Sacred Valley.
Yeah, I know.
It's a famous place. A lot of tourists go there.
Yeah.
And we were in this massive ceremony, and basically at the end, so it was run by several shamans, because it was, I think, 100 people there. And towards the end, the shaman walks over to speak to us, and my husband's blonde. Obviously, we don't look Peruvians. So he walked over and he said that he had some vision about us, and he asked where we're from and where we're going, what are our plans. And we said, well, we're just at the end of this trip, and we would really love to go to the jungle, but we don't know where or how or to whom. And he's like, well, I think you should come with me. So it just, it's not like we searched for shaman or, we picked it, it's just, he kind of picked us, really.
Yeah, he found you.
So he found us, yeah, and he said that we should go with him, and he said, you can come and stay in my place, and you can help me with arranging the ceremonies, and when the groups come for retreats, because he also does longer retreats, like week, 2 weeks, 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we planned that. A lot of things happened in between as well. We had many challenges. It was a, very, very, very deep healing journey. But that's how we started.
Yeah, I can imagine it was a deep healing journey, because everything that I've been watching and listening and reading about has been really that one of the best ways to experience ayahuasca is with a series of experiences. So
Yeah.
you do, in the space of, like you say, 7 to 10 days, you might do 4 or maybe 5 experiences, because really one on its own almost is more confusing than to keep the journey rolling. Is that kind of right? Have I got the right idea there?
It can be, yeah. It depends on the person, It depends how much healing work they've already done on themselves, the level of consciousness. But generally, I mean, we came from having lived 13 years in London, this city jungle. So we were like,
Yeah, exhausted.
but we also did a lot of inner work prior to that. We were learning different practices and meditating and doing yoga and all kinds of things. My husband's trained in Reiki as well, and I do different kinds of massage therapies and energy work. So we were not like complete newbies, let's say. So we had some preparation in terms of like therapeutic work. But yeah, very often I see that when people have a first experience, sometimes it's just like opening the doorway for deeper work. And especially for people who live in cities, they really need time to reset themselves to the nature frequency, if you like. Yeah, so the longer person is able to stay, the deeper they can go. And also in this kind of setting, in a nature, it doesn't have to be Amazon jungle necessarily. It can be anywhere else in nature. Although there are people who conduct ceremonies in cities. There are many people who want to experience it, they want to try it, but they don't necessarily have the time or the means to go all the way to the Amazon.
Yeah.
But yeah, even in South America, there are ceremonies being carried out in Lima or Sao Paulo in Brazil. So there are many, many different ways to experience it. But yes, the most profound, let's say, transformational experiences are if somebody is really, it's about the dedication as well. You really give it your time. You go and, let's say, spend 2 weeks in the jungle and you completely dedicated to your healing work. That's a transformation.
Yeah, absolutely.
On another level.
To stay in the jungle for that long is a challenge as itself anyway. What with the bugs and the nature, like you say, when you come directly from the urban jungle where everything's clean and everything's done for you, and then suddenly there's nature all around you and all day, all night, and that can be quite transformative just in that sense.
Yes.
I can imagine that there are challenges upon challenges as you go through this journey. And
yeah.
You said briefly to me that there are lots of different sort of traditions that coming from different parts of the Amazon, I'm assuming, the different sort of cultural differences, different traditions. Can you explain a few of those or some of the differences between them? How one ceremony might differ from another, or, how the plant is prepared, if there's a different preparation or...
Okay, so, well, that's, you could write a book about that. But generally, if you go, for example, to Brazil, they have a very different way of serving the medicine than Peruvians, for instance, or the Colombians. So it's just how the tradition evolved, I suppose, in different countries. They also have a slightly different strains of ayahuasca vine. So maybe I'll also say that ayahuasca it's the name of the brew, but it's also the name of the vine itself. So when we speak about the vine, that's ayahuasca, but the brew is a combination of ayahuasca vine plus usually leaves of chacruna, which is the plant that contains the DMT.
Yeah, which is the bit that's able to help it get through your body, isn't it? The ayahuasca vine breaks down the enzyme or something in your stomach so that the DMT can get through. Otherwise, actually, the body would process it and digest it, and it would just go through your body.
So the vine has MAO inhibitors, MAO inhibitors. So they basically, what they do is normally DMT gets broken down in the stomach. So if you would just take it in, nothing would happen. So what these inhibitors do, they are, let's say, protecting it from being digested. So it can stay in your body for, let's say, 4 or 6 hours or whatever. So there are different types of vines. There is a black ayahuasca, red ayahuasca, yellow ayahuasca. So they're slightly different, but similar. And also, the contents of DMT in chacruna leaf can also vary. It's like any other herb. You can pick any common herb like mint. One is going to be stronger than another.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you necessarily, if you wanted a stronger experience, would you go to, like, for example, Brazil? Or if you wanted a stronger experience or a lesser experience, you would go to Peru? Or, can you manage it like that a little bit? If it's your first time, perhaps you wouldn't want to go in straight away with the full on, like...
Sometimes that's better. If somebody has a really stubborn mind, sometimes it's better. With ayahuasca, I feel it's difficult to tell, but with some people, it's better that they go deep straight away, because it's almost like, you can't really overdose it. So, but there is a danger of not having enough, and then you basically kind of in between, you are in an altered state of consciousness, but your mind is still really analyzing and talking, and then you can get really filtered to the ego. So it's actually better to have deeper experience straight away. But to answer your question, you can manage how deeply you go by the doses, really, rather than which ayahuasca you drink. But going back to the ingredients, the basic recipe is ayahuasca and chacruna. In some parts of South America, they add wambisa or chaliponga as well. That's a little bit stronger strain of DMT. But in Peru, what started happening as well, because obviously it became very popular, then some shamans or people who try to pretend to be shamans, they want to give a good kick to the tourists. So they started to add plants like toe, which is very powerful, and it can be dangerous. There are also many recipes which are, not necessarily, like I said, to give a kick to the tourists or something, but there are some herbs being added, like, a tobacco or something, that will be causing more purging, for example, something like that.
Yeah.
So each shaman might have his own recipe. Some shamans don't really say fully what's in the ayahuasca, but the general recipes, like I said, it's the ayahuasca and chacruna.
Yeah, and traditionally just the two plants. That's what I was reading today, really. It was just whether combination, but there's just the two plants.
Yeah.
And obviously as the, can I call you an ayahuasquera? Kind of, would that be a title you'd be comfortable with?
I don't call myself that, but yeah, well, ayahuasquero or ayahuasquera is generally a person who serves medicine. So it's a you could say a ceremony facilitator.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely not a shaman.
It's a title, isn't it? That's why I asked, because it's quite an esteemed title, and a lot that I was reading through as well was, how proud these people, the people in Peru and all over the Amazon really are of this tradition, and that this has been something that has brought a great deal of enlightenment and knowledge and peace as well into their communities. So they're very protective of it. And that was something that I really loved, because my experience traveling around South America, 15, 16 years ago, when you got into the little villages, they were a beautiful little community, and it's in stark contrast to the big cities where everybody's kind of trying to be modern and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Little villages, and they're really actually very traditional and very proud of that. And these were the people who would kind of like shoo me away whenever I asked a question about ayahuasca. It's kind of like, no, gringa, go, like this is something for our community, and this is something that we're preserving as part of our heritage.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's kind of surprised me so much about the change in attitude towards ayahuasca over the last 15 years. And it just seems to have kind of gone boom. And now you can get ayahuasca ceremonies pretty much all over the world. I mean, I was in Thailand for 8 years, and they were serving ayahuasca ceremonies in Koh Phangan, which is, kind of party central over there. They do a lot of yoga, and there's a lot of meditation and stuff over there as well, but it felt a little bit, I don't know, just didn't sit well with me really, that on kind of, like I say, a party island that ayahuasca was being served. It just didn't really marry with my my idea of what it was, and that I'd been fed the information that I think I'd received, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can get it in Europe, you can get it in North America now, you know, in England, like in London now, we have ayahuasca ceremonies, and all the information that I was reading kind of indicates this for me. You know, a lot of the shamans that were talking and that I was reading, you know, work that they'd produced was saying that really you need, because of the energy of the plant, when you're preparing the capi, is it called capi? Have I got that?
Yeah.
Capi. You're preparing that. It really is about the energy of the facilitator who's preparing it and making it, but it's also about the energy surrounding it as well. You know, to be doing this in nature so that you can draw from the plants, you can draw from the trees. You know, you have that beautiful balancing energy that's coming into the brew, if you like. And that was really, really important. Like you said, setting intention starts there, starts with the preparation. It doesn't just start ceremony when you kind of think about, okay, what do I want to achieve? It actually is a huge process that begins days before as well, when you involve yourself in a dieta. Can you tell me more about the dieta that you have to do, which seems to be like a cleansing thing for your body so that you can get out some of the impurities so that you don't purge quite so much?
Yeah, so the diet before taking in ayahuasca, you know, you said you need like days of preparation. I would say even months. And it's interesting that some people you know, they start to think about it, or they start to feel like it's coming from somewhere, you know, it's around them, like a friend had it or someone spoke about it. And they're starting to feel it sometimes months before, and they start to have dreams about it. And people tell me, for instance, you know, they come to us and they say, oh, I'm interested, but then they're like, not yet, you know, and then they come a year later. But in the meantime, they tell me like that they were having these dreams about plant spirits, or snakes are very typical as well.
Wow.
As it's like a symbolism of renewal, you know, when snake sheds off its skin, and ayahuasca is often also symbolized by a snake.
Yeah.
So, you know, psychologically, mentally, people sometimes prepare themselves for a long time. As for the physical diet, you do need to prepare a little bit, because, you know, it is a substance that can come into, what's the word? It can basically react with, you know, like medications, for example, prescribed medications. It reacts with caffeine. So people need to cleanse. It's very, very advisable to have a good detox before. So if somebody does have like unhealthy diet, to, you know, eat more plant-based diet. For a couple of weeks prior to actual ceremony, it is advised not to have any meat at all, to not eat any processed foods, not to microwave the foods ever, actually. But
yeah. General rule of thumb. Yeah.
And yes, and if somebody takes any kinds of medications, that needs to be consulted as well. You know, if someone's, for example, on any kind of psychotropic drugs, they are not allowed to take it. If somebody has very high blood pressure, for instance, or is on any kind of, you know, medication that they need to take daily and they cannot let go of that, then that's probably a no.
Yeah.
So you have to also know it's not safe for everybody. It's generally very safe if you're in good health.
Yeah.
You know, in places like Brazil, ayahuasca is given to children. You know, in the Santo Daime ceremonies, they give to children, not the same dose, of course. When they're little babies, they just put like a drop on the tongue, and when they grow up, they just give them a little bit. But
Wow.
it's a completely different experience, because it's like a celebration, you know. When I first saw it, I was quite amazed on that first ceremony. You know, I came this newbie with no experience, no knowledge of anything. And on top of that, I never had any psychedelic experience in my life, so I did not know what to expect. Unlike my husband, who had, you know, some experience with mushrooms and some other things. So he kind of knew more or less. And I was just like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And then I see people with children, you know, or a lady sitting next to me was breastfeeding a child during the ceremony. I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously, as I gain more experience myself, I realize, you know, if you know what you're drinking and you know with whom and what circumstances, it's completely safe. And, you know, I had it myself when I was pregnant, and I felt completely, completely safe. Of course, you have different doses because you're much more open and much more sensitive. So that has to be adjusted. But
Yeah,
was going with this train of thought.
No, well, I was just thinking, because I have that picture of kind of, I suppose the videos that I've seen of people experiencing this, and then, like you say, turning over that way and just seeing this woman casually breastfeeding her child, and just thinking that it's like that, isn't it? If you go into a village or something like that, and they're all smoking, they're passing it down to the child, and then the child just takes a couple of puffs and they pass it on. I've seen that in the mountains all over Southeast Asia, and I've seen that in the mountains in South America. And kind of like, actually, that's exactly, you grow up with this, and the idea, I think, as well, is to almost empower the children not to be scared, not to be fearful, to trust in the journey. And that's something that we've lost, certainly in the West, so much fear.
Yeah, and of course, they look at it as a medicine. For them, it's something that they worship, especially in the Santo Daime. Or the other church is Unia do Vegetal, so somebody wants to look it up. So it's these two, which are officially registered churches that use ayahuasca in their ceremonies.
Yeah.
So, if people are brought up that way, they have a completely different consciousness and different way of thinking about it. So in the West, we are east from South America, but the Western world, we look at it as a drug. And unfortunately, it is, legally scheduled as a Class A drug, which is insane. But it is a plant medicine with lots of benefits for the body, for the mind, for the spirit. But for those people, who come from those cultures, this is, it's a pure medicine. So they don't look at it the same way. You would see, in our world, a child taking in a drug, and you'd be like, oh my God, But for them, this is something beautiful.
Yeah. Well, they haven't had anything around drugs as well, have they? For as long as I can remember, drugs are bad. Just say no. That, and it's just been a blanket. Anything that vaguely affects you, it's just kind of blanket. And the only thing that has got through that has been pharmaceutical drugs, which seem the conditioning around them is just pop a pill, you'll be fine. And actually, we're seeing that that's not the case either. But I just want to, rather than get on my whole pharmaceutical little box, I really want to go back to what you said about the benefits of ayahuasca, because reading about, I've been through depression myself, and it was a mission to get myself out of it, which is a whole different story. But what I loved reading really about the benefits of ayahuasca, and how having the ayahuasca experience and taking the ayahuasca can really begin to kind of cut through the layers and layers of separation that we give ourselves and go right into the core of the problem. And that really fascinated me, and I just wanted kind of, I suppose, to ask you about, like, if you've had any experience of any traumas that you've had, and how quickly you got to them, because I think that can be one of the things that's a little bit scary, is the fact that you kind of go from your idea of what reality is, and then it's like the layers are just peeled away too quick, and you're straight into the core of what it is that ails you, if you like. You know what I mean? It's the thing that is actually hurting you from the inside, the thing that you need to release.
Yeah.
And I think, it's literally like an epidemic across the world, depression at the moment. 21-year-old children are killing themselves in Korea because of depression and, suicidal thoughts, because they feel that they're not good enough. It's the same sort of thing in the US. I think it's 10% of all women have depression, and they estimate that it's the same amount of people, if not more, in the male category as well. It's just that guys never put their hand up and say, I need help, and so I kind of feel like maybe one of the reasons that ayahuasca is becoming more open is because so many more people now are looking for it, looking for something that will help. Do you think that's the case?
There are many answers to this question. One of them is what you said. There is basically a need for it. But I feel from the spirit of ayahuasca itself that basically she has a mission to go around the world and opens people's consciousness. But as for depression, I had a depression for many years myself. My husband used to suffer from anxiety and panic attacks. We healed it with ayahuasca and many other things as well. Some physical female issues I had, I actually ended up in hospital when I was in Peru on our journey. So I had to have an emergency operation, and it was, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so from Operation Room, literally, within a few days, I was flying to the jungle, and we were actually ready to go back to UK, but I found that shaman who said to us to come and see him, and he said, no, if this is what's happened, then you actually need to come because I have plants that will heal you, apart from ayahuasca, some other plants as well. So yeah, there's definitely need for this medicine in our world. I think the epidemic of depression is well, it's undeniable, it's massive, and now it's even, children. I think I was looking just a few days ago at some statistics in the US, how many kids in the primary school are on the, prescription drugs for depression and anxiety. It's scary.
Mm.
And I think, well, the number one reason for depression in people is unhealed trauma from childhood.
Mm.
So where ayahuasca comes to help in these cases is that basically, so how it works physically, and this has actually been proven, which is very exciting for me because the things that I've been experiencing and what I've been seeing in my visions are now being proven by science. Mm. So, they did this test where they gave ayahuasca to somebody and they put them under MRI scan to look at what's happening in their brain. So imagine that. So basically, when they looked at the brain of that person, there's an entire area of the brain which is responsible for the subconscious mind. It lit up like a Christmas tree. So literally what happens when you drink it is everything that you have in the subconscious can come up to the surface and you can look at it. So if you have depression or anything like that, and it's rooted in some childhood issues, in some childhood traumas or unresolved issues, or could be karmic as well. You are simply able to look at it. And this is also how ayahuasca heals from various types of addictions. And there are many centers in Peru, for example, in Tarapoto, where I was staying with my husband, the city in Peru. There are a couple of centers which actually specialize in healing addictions with the use of ayahuasca. So how does it do? You are basically able to see the very reason why you started to have an addiction in the first place. And again, in our society, we look at addicts like, low-class people or whatever, failure or anything like that. But that addiction speaks something. It's trying to heal something. It's trying to, resolve an issue, basically. There was one Canadian doctor, psychotherapist called Gabor Mate. He is one of those who openly speaks about using ayahuasca as a treatment. He goes on regular basis, I think twice or 4 times a year or so, with groups of people to the jungle. It's not his main work, but he uses it for his work. And he talks a lot about also like how, to hear that from a doctor is amazing, how ayahuasca actually helps people. And I was watching an interview with him not long ago, and he was speaking about this, and he said, when we look at people with addiction, we look at them quite judgmentally, I think, in our society. But he says that what addiction does, it serves you in some way. It's trying to heal some pain or cover some pain. So the question you need to ask is not why the addiction, but why the pain.
Yeah.
Then you open the door to healing.
Yeah.
And then you take off the weight of the shoulders of that person because it's not, it's not their fault. They need help, they need healing. They don't need to be judged and locked away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the progressive thought around healing through addiction and also through, through behavior as well. Like, when you think about kind of some of the really appalling behavior that humans exhibit as well, same thing comes from some internal feeling of lack or lack of worth, lack of being enough, some experiential thing that happened to them in childhood. And it can be even something when they were in the womb. I have a friend who does a lot of research and a lot of therapy around when the woman is carrying the child, the environment that they're carrying the child in, the way that the mother is emotionally, mentally, physically, all of it contributes to the way that the developing child is seeing the universe outside the mother. And of course, it's all preparatory for birth. When that child then is born, it needs to, by sort of instinct and survival, it needs to be able to work in that world, and if there's any negative thought about the pregnancy that's going through, you know, and so right from the word go, you can kind of be instilling these limiting belief factors into children. And as you said, we don't clear trauma, you know, we don't clear it in the West. Oh, you know, there's a lot of stuff actually that's done in the East about looking towards yourself. I studied Buddhism when I was in Thailand and did a lot of meditation and yoga and all that sort of thing in India. And so I've had the opportunity, I feel like, to have experienced a little bit of that from the East and really see and benefit from that wisdom myself. So I'm really kind of keen through the work that I do to really share that and to open people's minds to this. And I kind of feel like Ayahuasca is doing that same thing. That, you know, she has a little journey to do that, and I'm kind of on that same path in a different way. And it's definitely like the need is definitely there. It feels like lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of trauma need to be cleared. And with the way the world is at the moment, you know, it needs to be cleared quickly. We haven't got lifetimes to be able to work through.
Exactly.
You know? It needs to be something pretty hardcore and pretty intense to actually get through to people anyway, because we're kind of so conditioned and so narrow-minded about certain things. Especially about self-healing and self-love, you know, like that's kind of my whole angle is always self-love, because for me, what I realized coming through all the journeys that I've had is it comes back to that. It always comes back to that. It's about learning to love yourself and accept yourself throughout the journey. You know, you're not expected to just be able to go ting and I'm okay almost. It's a progressive journey and you need to learn all the stuff that comes up along it. But ultimately, you're looking at recognizing yourself and believing, you know, wholeheartedly, like fully in every cell of your body, that you are divine ultimately, and that, you know, you are one with everything. And crazy as that can sound, you know, it's being able to then connect externally as well as internally with it. You know, this idea that so many people have, they block it down as well. They don't kind of let that energy and let that experience and that feeling of love and that feeling of joy really come out and transcend the physical self, you know, or even the mental self in some instances, and it's brushed away and it's kept down. And for me, it's really about getting people to experience that and just experience it and share it. You know, that's the thing, isn't it? With love, it's designed to be shared. And I really feel that that's one of the beautiful things of ayahuasca as well, that actually it strips you back and it shows you what you need to work on. And ultimately speaking, it says, you know, don't worry about any of it. You're right where you need to be right now. This is all about, you know, you being perfect and learning through the journey. And I mean, just kind of saying that makes me feel good about, you know, myself and the way. So to actually accept that and feel it and know it through an experience, because words can only do so much, can't they? You know, and this is the thing that almost calls me with ayahuasca, is that that's the ultimate experience of the stuff that I say, you know. And is that kind of the experience that you've had?
Very much so, very much so. And, you know, important thing that you said that I'm going to point out is that you say that it shows you the door, it shows you the way. You know, some people, you know, there's so much information about it, you know, all over the internet. And some people think that it's going to be like a quick fix. It doesn't work that way. And if someone thinks like that, it's a mistake, because, you know, it's like if you imagine that you go to a great master, he's not going to go and do the work for you. He's going to tell you what to do. He's going to show you what to do. So the whole ayahuasca experience starts with the ceremony, but then it lasts. It can last months. It can last years. You know, what happens afterwards, the whole integration process. So, you know, people go, for example, for ceremony and they get some visions or understandings, or, you know, every ceremony is different. I don't know how many I've had. It would be like hundreds, but, you know, every single ceremony is different. And sometimes it's very visual. Sometimes it's very auditory. Sometimes it's just a feeling in the body. Sometimes you work on past life experience. Sometimes you're getting information about the future, or some downloads or some healing, or, you know, every time it's different. You always get what you need to get in the moment. What's the most important for you in that moment. I always tell people to have an intention. You can have more than one. You can have as many as you like. But, you know, it's important that you know what you're coming for, you know, whether it's healing or it's something specific, or you need to ask some important questions. A lot of the times it's like, why am I here? You know, what is my life about, or how can I be a better person, or anything like that. So ayahuasca will open the door. It opens people's hearts. It connects them with their higher self. It connects them with the spirit. It connects them with the nature spirits. They become more sensitive to the frequency of the planet, to what Gaia needs, to each other as well. They feel more connected with each other. They start to see like a bigger picture, you know. If you look from, you know, from this point of view, everything's like you're so caught up in your little world and your little problems and everything. And then you expand and suddenly you see that, you know, this little issue over here is not important because there is so much more and so much more.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, the important thing is that whatever it is that you get or you understand, you have to then go and integrate it. So if you're being told you need to quit smoking, then you have to go and quit smoking. If you're being told you gotta, you know, be better mother or better partner or whatever, you have to go and implement it. And, you know, there are people who are jumping from ceremony to ceremony. I really don't recommend it because what happens is, you know, it does take you high in a way. So you have to really take care to ground yourself afterwards. There are many, many practices for grounding. As simple as, you know, even walking barefoot on the ground. I really love that. Or digging in the garden, you know, or going to play with your child in a sandpit or something. So grounding and integrating that experience and really processing it, processing everything that happened during the ceremony. What did you see? What did you understand? What is it that you have to change in your life? It's not a quick fix. You know, it will make you feel better. And sometimes people go like, oh yeah, all my problems went away. I'm okay now. But they don't really do anything about it, you know. And then a month later, they want to confound at the ceremony. When people come to us too quickly, I tell them no. They have to, I think, you know, a person who works on themselves really shouldn't have it more than twice a year. Somebody who works on themselves and can integrate well. It's a very, very deep work. You know, you work on the blueprint level of your being. So for all that information and the frequencies to kind of come through all the layers of your being, you know, to filter through the emotional body, to the physical body, to all of your layers, it takes time.
Yeah. Sure.
So,
and really bring yourself back into balance after every experience. Like you say, allow it to integrate into your mind, into your, like, I wouldn't say reality, strange concept, but you know what I mean? Like you're kind of every day when you return back to your life, as you always do, as you must, to have this experience, you know, it's kind of like you need to be able to bring that learning back and integrate that into who you're going to go forward and be. Absolutely. Especially if you've had like the messages like you're explaining to us, but also to be able to marry that in so that you still feel, I suppose, like you know, as well, isn't it? Because otherwise it can kind of, it can really shift. I don't want to say too much, but that sort of experience can kind of freak you out a little bit when you go back to normality, you know, that thing. So that I think you're right. Certainly the experiences that I've kind of had with not ayahuasca, but other experiences that I've had in my life that have been life-changing for me, there has been months of integration and rebalancing and, like you say, grounding back in, you know, and really bringing in, and I've had some really weird stuff happen in that time as well that I know, I just know is linked to it, like teeth dropping out and like really weird stuff like that. Kind of, okay, all right, we'll just go with this. It does kind of take a while, like, you know, it's important to allow yourself to really heal, like you say, from the kind of the outside throughout your cells. You know, every cell in your body needs to feel this message, needs to resonate differently, and it would be too much to take your physical being through all this sort of stuff and just it to kind of be able to cope with it time and time again.
Yeah, and the tricky thing is that sometimes, you know, people think like, oh no, I'm okay, because, you know, you don't have that, you know, sometimes you only understand something like a while later.
Yeah.
So, you know, months will pass and you will look back and you will see like, oh my gosh, I was really ungrounded and I actually thought I was fine.
Yeah.
Just the same way like when you're 20 and you think you're so smart, and then you're 40 and you think, oh my God, I was so stupid.
Yeah, sure. And I suppose it's about expectation as well, isn't it? People, like you say, it's not a one-stop shop. It's not like the little magic pill you can just take and it's job done.
No.
You know, you have to kind of, you just have to like integrate it in, keep balancing yourself, and I agree. Like I think with anything that's going to change your life. If you go in expecting that it's going to be one experience, that you'll come out of it and it'll be fine, you know, you will have had something, and then that's it. That's it, sort of encapsulated. That experience was it. You're going to find it knocking you on the head and, you know, sort of changing your life without you being sort of consciously aware, I suppose, because your subconscious level has changed. Am I right? I'm kind of, what I've kind of been reading about, and I'm, you know, and then again, integrating my own knowledge and my own self-development and stuff, and trying to marry it up so I can try and understand. Because before you offered me this interview, I was kind of like, okay, let's kind of bring it all in. And yeah, I was kind of like thinking to myself, I think all the stuff that I've ever done that has changed me has had to be integrated for a long time afterwards. I have an encapsulated experience, but it's come back to knock on my mind, sort of thing, for months afterwards. And also I notice for months afterwards subtle subconscious shifts, like, oh, I don't do that anymore. You know, like I don't I just really bite my nails. And I you know, I suddenly realized following you know, it was a 10-day silent retreat that I did in a monastery in Thailand. And I don't bite my nails anymore. And I kind of was like, okay, well, that shifted something. I didn't even realize. It wasn't even on wasn't even on a conscious level that I thought, right, I'm not doing that anymore. I wasn't given a download. There was no drop-in. There was nothing. I just suddenly realized about 8 months later, when I'm kind of cutting my nails, oh, you know, I never used to cut my nails. Like I used to kind of like bite my nails. So in some level, that anxiety that I'd always had, that kind of nervousness, has gone, has shifted. And I still kind of like sometimes find myself picking at them, but nothing like I used to. I mean, I used to literally bite them right down. I've just got terrible nails subsequently, but you know, they seem to be growing back all right. They're all right. But so I'd love to go through what is involved in a ceremony, if I can. Like, you know, we've talked about like preparation that you probably need to do with your diet for a good few months before you come, you know, taking it seriously and going into this, almost setting your intention months before, by not eating rubbish, and, you know, I assume not, you know, drinking excessively, smoking excessively, taking loads of recreational drugs, you know, all the stuff that we know brings toxins into our body. Certainly the purge seems to be kind of one of the most experiential parts to it, you know, the bit where you actually, your whole body is eliminating stuff and bringing stuff up or outwards, you know, one way or the other. People have talked about shaking and sweating and vomiting and severe diarrhea, you know, to the point of, and noises, a lot of noise making as well, where you can express something that is again deeply rooted, not to the physical level, even something, I don't know, some angst or something like that. I don't know if you can kind of give me some insight on kind of what that's all about, or your experience of that, or
Right. Okay, so like I said before, you know, it feels to me like meeting ayahuasca, it's like meeting a great master. So, you know, in terms of preparation, apart from the physical, I think people really need to kind of take it in that way, like really prepare yourself mentally and come with respect and humility. Most of all, humility. Some people are so arrogant, you know, they just think they're going to just jump into a ceremony and like, oh, I just want to check it out because my friend had this, so I want to have it. They're not going to experience much. I really feel, and from my experience, I see that the more you prepare, the more you know, give yourself to it, the more you get back. It's like an investment, you know? And so what happens on ceremonies? You know, ceremonies can look very different. You know, like we said before, with the type of ayahuasca, how it's prepared, how it differs depending on the culture. The ceremonies are also different. So, for example, on the Santo Daime ceremony, people are dressed in white. It's a big ceremony. There's a lot of people. Sometimes women are separated from the men. You know, they would sit in a circle. There would be music. Songs would be sung. You know, and people would come to an altar and they would drink one by one. They would be called in by a shaman, you know, and they would drink one by one. There is also different number of portions being taken. You know, it can be 2 times in a night or 3 or 4 times in a night, so it depends. In Peru, it looks very different. It's like very grounded, kind of shamanic, in the dark, you know. again, you would sit in a circle. The shaman would, he would prepare the space, he might pray into 4 directions, call in the spirits, or call upon his ancestors or whatever he's connecting with to support him to hold the space. And he calls the, people again one by one to come over to him. They would drink their cup and then all go back to their seat. And ceremony is actually done in silence, but in a sense, like we are not, we wouldn't speak to each other, for example, like, try to interact with people. It's a very deep internal experience.
Yeah.
And well, to be honest, even if people would try, most of the time they're not really able to communicate very much. So at least not with any sense.
From the bloke on the left.
Yeah. So you would go back, you would drink that, you would go back to your place. The number of people on ceremonies also vary. I've had experiences with 80, 100 people ceremony. I don't recommend them.
Wow.
It feels to me like an energetic soup, I did that at the beginning when I started working with this medicine, and it's, there are usually helpers on those ceremonies, but, you will not be able to get in contact with the shaman or the main facilitator. Basically they're busy holding the space, and there are just people kind of walking around who either didn't drink or they drink just a little bit, and they, trying to make sure that everybody's okay. But I've also seen situations with people not okay, but there was not enough helpers to take care of them. Not okay in a sense like, nothing physically was wrong, but the person was going into some panic or something, was psychologically having a difficult process.
Yeah.
So smaller ceremonies, I think, are better. I would say no more than 10, 15 people maximum. Yeah. Personally, I like about 6. And, sometimes even 1-to-1. Not many people offer that. We offer 1-to-1 ceremonies as well. That's very highly therapeutic. So basically, we both focus on that person or a couple. Sometimes couples come as well. So yeah, what happens after you drink? That's a whole different story. All kinds of things can happen.
Yeah,
sometimes nothing happens.
Yeah,
and that's also important to remember that, people sometimes read about it because there's so much info on the internet, but there are cases where nothing actually happens during the ceremony and the process begins only after. If somebody's like really shy about themselves, or they're not used to like opening up in front of other people, or they're concerned about perhaps the purging in front of others, you can really, if somebody has a strong mind, they can block the medicine. And wow. I've seen that as well. Somebody comes and like they drink 1, 2, 3, 4 cups, they're like, it's not working. Meanwhile, the person next to them had half a cup and is completely on the floor, and not able to move. So it's like there's nothing wrong with the medicine. You're not allowing it. And the reasons why can be very, very, very different. Sometimes it's meant to be like this, I remember when my younger sister came for her first ceremony, having heard from me all of my trips in Peru and all that, all the experiences. And, when we were learning, we were drinking every other day for some time. That was a lot. It was very intense. And she heard a lot from me, obviously. I was very excited about everything I was sharing with her. And then she came for her first ceremony. She thought, right, that's it. I'm going to have this transformational experience, and it's going to be like this and like that. I'm going to see these alien beings and go into cosmos and whatever, I don't know what she imagined. But of course, what happened, that she drank a couple of cups and she didn't feel it. So she's sitting there like, it's not working. I don't know what's happening. Something's wrong. It's not working. And, everybody was already kind of waking up from the experience towards the morning. And suddenly the ayahuasca kicked in. And she said, that was your lesson for tonight.
Yeah.
Too much expectation.
Yeah.
Sit with it.
Yeah.
She was like, oh.
The adrenaline takes you so high. I haven't had the same experience on mushrooms. Everybody else around me was freaking out, and I was like, well, that's no good. That doesn't work. So I had a load more, and that was it. Like within about an hour of the second lot, suddenly could feel the fire in my belly, and everything began to explode. And I just went, it was just full on. And I just felt like, well, that's taught you something there. No patience, you've got sort of, that in that sense, I understand. But it's also the expectation. It was the first time I'd ever done it. and I was kind of like literally like that, arms crossed, quite defensive, quite kind of, you know, prepared for the worst almost, you know, and meanwhile my friend sitting next to me like feet and hands in the air going, oh, it's so beautiful, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. You know, this doesn't work, I'm immune. And so yeah, just kind of threw caution to the wind, and yeah, repented after that. I was kind of like, oh right, okay, well I've learned the lesson. Yeah.
And to continue about what happens during the ceremony, so after you drink, it takes about half an hour, maybe a little bit longer until it starts to work. So it has to pass through your digestive system.
Yeah.
Good thing about Brazilian, well, some of Brazilian ayahuasca and the Peruvian one, if it's really thick, I find that better.
Yeah.
Because when it's thicker, it moves slower through the digestive system. They call it snake ayahuasca because it goes like that. And, you know, it kicks in slowly. It doesn't overwhelm you. You know, I've been to ceremonies where the ayahuasca was really diluted. It was like water, and you would drink a lot. And most of the time it's not very tasty as well.
Yeah.
So, so that was difficult because you kind of sit there and wait, and, you know, 20 minutes pass and it literally kicks you in the head and you're gone. So that can cause panic in some people. Of course, you will be fine, you know, and there's, you know, I guess maybe important thing to mention is as well, if you're drinking good medicine and it's actual ayahuasca as well, because nowadays, because it became popular, there are also more and more people cooking whatever psychedelic and calling it ayahuasca. So people who want to try in Europe specifically, they have to really, you know, do your studies, check the people and check what you're drinking. Yeah. But if you drink good ayahuasca, then yeah, within about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you should start feeling it. And, you know, what you have afterwards, you know, like we said about the purging, right? You can have some purging experience. Also, not necessarily. Not everybody goes through the purge.
Okay.
If you do, you might experience some vomiting, you might experience some diarrhea. 99% of the time, you are fine to, you know, stand up, go to the bathroom if you need to. You might be a little bit dizzy, but you should be okay to take care of yourself. That doesn't always happen. Yeah, sometimes people just sit and have like a very deep meditation. So sometimes you might be purging, but the purging is also different. So like when you're vomiting, it's not like when you have food poisoning. You know, first of all, there's nothing in your stomach because you would have had a diet before, and actually prior to ayahuasca, you should be fasting for, you know, ideally a day at least. So, you know, you only have that little fluid in your stomach, so that's easy. And then typically, if somebody does a purge physically, it would come with like a vision or understanding of what is it that you're releasing. So it might sound strange, but it feels nice in some way. It's like, you know, something off your chest, like you really let go of something and you feel lighter. So it can be very, very helpful, and it feels different.
So if you set that intention before you go into the ceremony, is that what comes up for you? Or comes you a bit blindsided by it, or it tends to stick to what your intention was?
I would always try to stick to the intention. However, sometimes you might have an intention that's not necessarily a priority from the spirit level.
Yeah.
So if you know what I mean, you know, let's say, I don't know, my intention might be to heal a particular disease. But in order to heal that, first I need to understand A, B, and C. So maybe on that first ceremony, I'm going to get a lesson on A, and then another ceremony lesson on B. And then only 3 ceremonies later, I can actually get down to the full picture, if you know what I mean. So
Mother Ayahuasca takes you on her journey, wherever, you know, you might not your intention, but she's going to take you the way you need to go.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a very big lesson on trust and letting go of control for a lot of people. That was a problem for me. I was always in control. You know, I had a quite difficult upbringing, you know, with lots of traumas in childhood and so on. And a protective mechanism for that is trying to control the entire environment around you all the time. Of course, when you go into your adult life, it's not perceived very well. And it starts to cause problems, you know. So I had to let go of that, and it was one of my hardest lessons. So yeah, she very much just takes you wherever you need to go, whatever is best for you. You always get what's best for you. And also, you always get only as much as you can handle. This is like a golden rule, you know. I tell people, engrave it in your mind if you have to. But it really gives you comfort when you start to feel overwhelmed. Just remember that you wouldn't see what you're seeing, or you wouldn't be experiencing what you're experiencing if you would not ready.
Yeah.
You know, if you see something that's not pleasant, it means it wants to be released.
Yeah.
If you would not be ready, it would not come up. That's
And that you're enough to deal with it.
Yeah. So you can always feel safe like that.
Yeah. But that's an indication of spirit, I think, as well, isn't it? The fact that it always is keeping you safe. It you know, it is the journey. It's always keeping you safe. It's always there. So that, you know, I suppose you can let go a little bit if you believe that as well. If you believe that actually, you know, I do get the lessons that I'm given because I do need to learn. And what about, because one of the things that I loved about some of the ceremonies that I watched, obviously I watched them on YouTube, but was the songs that came through and the way that they were expressed as being from the plant itself and from the trees and from the environment. And I just thought that was lovely. And I speak a little bit of Spanish, so I was able to understand some of the words, and a lot of it was about protecting the body, protecting the spirit, you know, becoming at one, no dominance, you know, everybody being equal. And I kind of really like that. So is that something that you would use in your ceremonies as well? Is that the way Simon taught you?
Yeah, so this is the shamanic tradition, you know. The songs are called Icaro. So they are the healing songs of the plants. So in a shamanic training, normally you would do what in Peru they call dieta, which means that you basically work with different plants for a long period of time in isolation. And, you know, this is like the old tradition, you know, when the shamans were passing down the information in the family lineage, you know, training each other. You know, and like in Colombian tradition, for instance, you said that you've traveled in Colombia, yeah? They are very rigid with the preparation, very, very rigid. So, you know, they need to be training for like 20 years to become a shaman, you know, to gain that title. And they're very highly respected. And they spend a lot of time in the jungle where they basically isolated and they're training and they work with these plants. And they take ayahuasca, but they also work with individual other herbs, you know. And while they work with that herb, they would be on a very modest diet, literally. It's almost like just to survive, you know. We've done this as well. Not for as long, but we also had to do it. And you basically, you isolated. The only person you're seeing is the shaman that comes to you to bring you herbs. You take them in every day. And on top of that, you have ayahuasca usually every other day. And you basically completely just connect with the nature spirits. And after a while, a song comes to you, you know, or they call in for the song. So the shaman will basically, you know, connect with that plant that he's taking in. And that's where the Icaros come from. So they literally singing during the ceremony, they're singing the songs of the plant spirits, calling in the different plant spirits. Or sometimes it can be the tribe, you know, or different energies of elements that they work with to help with the process.
Sorry, would that be different for you as well? Like if say, for example, you and your husband are both going through these things independently of one another, and but you're both taking the same plant or the same herb, do you feel into the same songs, or is it your own interpretation, like your own relationship with the plant through your experience together?
It's a bit of both. So we had some, you know, chants and, you know, I wouldn't call it songs really, because what comes to us, you know, we do sing in the ceremonies and we play as well. And Robert practices like sound healing, sound therapy, you know, got lots of instruments. But the way we work is not the typical traditional Peruvian way, because we've had all these different experiences. And also the messages that we were getting from the medicine when we were leaving the jungle, you know, and we were saying goodbye to our shaman. We thought that he's, you know, he's going to give us the blessing, say, okay, now you can go and work. But he, of course, didn't do that. So he said to us, well, I don't know if you're going to be shamans. Let's see, you know. And we were like, well, can we get some medicine from you? He's like, no. Well, obviously, we'll buy it from you. No, you can't have it. So we're like, why not? So what's all this learning for? He said, if you're meant to do it, it will come to you. Bye-bye. So we went back to Europe.
Brilliant. Grow our own vines.
Yeah, we went back to Europe, and then the first month that we arrived, a friend of ours invited us for a ceremony, somebody that we have actually met in Peru. And at the end of the ceremony, he had like a decent amount of medicine left. And he just looked at it. He's like, I think that's for you. So then we're like, oh, that's our blessing, I think.
Yeah. How do you come across the plants and the roots and everything that, you know, you'd find easily in Colombia or Peru or Brazil, around that little area? You know, I mean, again, the videos that I saw, people were just going out into the jungle, stripping down some bark, cutting off the bark, picking the leaves, and everything was done and prepared freshly there. They were also drinking some thing to protect their bodies or something from the spirits, from negative and evil spirits or something. They'd made some concoction. I don't know. I'm assuming that, like you say, because there are so many different you know, villages even just participating in this tradition and making it their own, much like people make cakes all over you know, all over England differently. You know, they do a Victoria sponge in Windsor. You go up north and they do a Victoria sponge. It's completely different. You know, it's a different consistency. They use different type of flour. They might layer it on top, or they might layer it in the middle. You know, there's all those different things to it, isn't there? And so how do you find the properties, that the plants that you need now to be able to hold ceremonies in Europe?
That's a tricky question.
Yeah.
So generally, I'll tell you how it's made. You know, this is also important for people because it became popular. You know, some people are competing with each other on the prices, like, oh, come to me, I'm cheaper. It's such a long process and such a difficult process to cook this. I haven't cooked myself. Robert was training to cook with another shaman, actually. The one that we were training, he wasn't preparing the medicines. He had another master shaman who was actually preparing the ayahuasca, but also the other master plants. And so he took Robert into the jungle, my husband, and he taught him how to cook, and he showed him the recipes. And I remember when he came back, and he was telling me how they're doing it. You know, it's an entire team of people involved, having to go into the jungle, find the bark, find the leaves. Then, you know, the proportions is like you need about 10 kilo of the vine in order to cook 1 liter of ayahuasca. That's a lot. And they have to break it down, you know, and the cooking is like 2 days of cooking. Yeah. And, you know, Robert was obviously very dedicated. So he was sitting there with that fire and putting his heart and the intentions and everything. Quite surprised that the shaman didn't. Yeah. He's like, yeah, he's normal. He's fine. You know, he's just, you don't have to watch it all the time. It's okay. So yes, it's best if it's cooked with fresh ingredients. We're lucky because we're living in a place where it is allowed by law for therapeutic purposes. So we actually have it freshly cooked in the jungle from natural ingredients by a master shaman who we trust, you know, and he brings it to us. There are people who, you know, like I said, they buy, I'm not sure where, but they buy different kinds of psychedelic plants, like mimosa, for example, and they cook it and they call it ayahuasca. Somebody told me you can get dry ingredients. I have tried ayahuasca cooked from dry ingredients. I personally didn't like it, but that might just be my preference. So I don't want to, like, you know, judge anyone. If they have pure intentions and there's healing occurring and it helps people, then I'm sure it's fine. But I didn't like it. I felt like the life force element was missing in it. Also, the consistency was different. So yeah, you know, there's different types of things available. Yeah, depending on where you are and what you can get. Yeah, and with your ceremony, do you do the thing with that? Because this is another thing I saw on YouTube, was with this plant. This had the most beautiful leaves, and they were just constantly shaking it. And I was kind of like, I couldn't. Shakapa. I have a shakapa. You mentioned it before we spoke. So I brought one. I didn't know. But yeah, there you go. So can you tell me why you would use that? Because they were literally shaking it all around them, and it was kind of like almost a meditative thing, you know, like a moving meditation. Yes. Keep them moving. And so this is like a natural rattle, basically, you know. Yeah. So when they sing the Icaro, they use it, you know. It's and when you how to say, when all your senses are open on the ayahuasca, because it opens you up really a lot. So you feel more, you smell more, you taste more. Your hearing is very sensitive on ayahuasca. So all of these things, they can sound very trippy. And this plant is considered a healing plant, you know, like sage perhaps. That it cleanses space, it moves energy. So it's being used in order to call in the plant spirits, to cleanse, you know, to purify the space. But also sometimes if somebody has like a deep internal process, a shaman would go over to that person and they might sing Icaro directly to that person and give them what they call in Spanish, they call it limpia, you know, like a cleansing, healing. And they use the shakapa around the person as well. And, you know, they feel and they see where the help is needed. Maybe there's energy stuck somewhere, you know, something has to be moved or they need to purge. So yeah, that's the purpose of that. And it serves as like an instrument, you know, like I said, like a natural rattle.
The
other thing that's being used a lot as well, sorry, I jumped in your sentence there. The other thing that's being used a lot is tobacco. That's also another, you know, it's a master plant. It's a very highly regarded healing plant. And, you know, but it's not the tobacco that we see in shops. You know, it's jungle tobacco is completely different. It's a very strong plant. It has a different smell. And it's mostly used as a smoke. So the shaman or the facilitator would either have a pipe or they would prepare like a rolled cigarette of pure tobacco and they use the smoke. It's a very protective energy, also very purifying, but it also helps with purging. So sometimes people start to feel a little bit unwell, but it's not quite going either this way or that way, or it's, you know, it's just like they're sitting with that nausea. So then tobacco might help, either in the form of, you know, the form of smoke, or there is another medicine that's being used a lot in ceremonies. It's just called rapé, or hapé. It has a bit unfortunate spelling for English language because it spells R-A-P-E. Yeah, but it's a tobacco powder, which is also mixed with other herbs. This also became very popular in, you know, in Europe, in the Western society. Some people use it, you know, some use it daily. You shouldn't really, but you can use it in a separate ceremony as well. But this is a medicine that also really opens, you know, it opens all the chakras. And if there is during a ceremony somebody's blocked, then sometimes they would give you rapé. It's just, you know, you can snort it, but it's usually blown into your nostrils. So shaman would have like a pipe, actually.
Little pipe.
I have a pipe, hang on. Because we make these as well. So you have a pipe like that. This is a big one. So that's like a ceremonial pipe. So you would put some powder at the end of it, and then you blow it into someone's nose, into both nostrils. That's also helpful. Another thing that's being used a lot is agua florida, which is it's a flower water. Most shamans buy it in like a little plastic bottle, but the tradition, you know, is using natural prepared flower water from actual flowers. This agua florida that you see most of the time is just a perfumed water. It smells nice. It's quite refreshing. Sometimes when people feel nauseous, it also like helps to put a little bit on the hands and just, you know, refresh yourself with the smell.
Change the energy a little bit.
Yeah, but the actual real flower essence, you know, if you prepare it from fresh flowers and herbs, you know, flowers have a high frequency. So it also helps to lift you a little bit, you know.
That's what I thought with the shakapas, that it's got to be, you know, that sound, that vibration, it's shifting the energy around you. And that I kind of assumed it was that. But it's just lovely, like lovely sound. I like that sound, you know, and kind of just holding it and shaking it and really focusing on that.
It puts you in a trance as well.
That's what I kind of got the impression. It actually really conducive to the whole experience itself, and just kind of like finite your awareness, you know, bringing it all into one sort of focus when it's just that movement. And it's like a little bit like, I suppose, a moving meditation would be if you close your eyes and you just focus on moving your feet. Same thing with that, just kind of keep focusing on that, keep that noise, keep that vibration moving. It unclouds the awareness, if you like, brings everything into a focus.
And sounds are incredibly important in a ceremony because, like I said, you know, all your senses are really heightened, and the sound especially, and music is a frequency. And when you are so open and your mind is open and, you know, all of your senses are so sensitive, music really carries you. So again, depending on the tradition, the music can be very different. So for example, in a Peruvian jungle, the Shipibo tribes, they only sing this Icaro, which I personally don't like so much, actually. I like some of the Icaro, some of those that are more melodic, which like I feel connected with.
Yeah.
But hearing the Icaro entire night or just drumming entire night, it feels quite boom, 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 you know, like really, it feels quite heavy to me. Some people like it, you know. If some people are at the stage in the life where they need to purge a lot, that's great. It's very helpful.
Yeah.
But I like, for example, the Brazilian way. The Brazilian ceremony is more about celebration, bring you into light, into love frequency, into just joyful way of being. And so, you know, after some years of already working with it, you know, it's been like over 7 years that we've been working with this medicine. I actually see that you can approach very heavy traumas from different perspectives. One way is to go deep down and dig it, you know, and get this drum going and just like shake it off.
Yeah.
But that can be quite heavy for some people. And I actually see that, you know, how the Brazilians do it by calling in very high frequencies, you know, working with angels or whatever it is that you resonate with. We work with angels as well. We work with crystals. And the music that we play also, like I said, we use some Icaro, but not so many. It's more of a sound healing, you know. Robert has a whole collection of instruments, really beautiful flutes, guitar, you know, shruti box, some drums, but, you know, we would perhaps like sing medicine songs. So there are medicine songs which are melodic as well. There are many in English as well. There are websites where you can find them. You know, sometimes people, when they hear them in a ceremony, it really touches them. They feel very connected with it. So then they come and ask me, oh, where I can find that, you know. Yeah. So there are websites where you can find entire lists of medicine songs, really beautiful, like, you know, speaking about healing, connecting with nature, spirits, with yourself, with energies, loving yourself, accepting yourself, forgiving and all that. Yeah. And of course, when you're so open, it really gets you, it really touches you.
Yeah, sure. And I suppose one of the things that would be lovely about working like one-to-one with you or in a couple, you know, with your partner or something like that would be the fact that you could open up, like I'm just imagining I could open up to you and I could say, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I want to clear. And you would be able to tailor make an experience for me based on, you know, really, I suppose, if you like, the resonation that I would almost need to support my journey on that. So if I, you know, I was kind of like, actually, I really just want to connect with spirit and really feel that connection and that love, then I feel like the vibration would want to be high. Would, you know, I wouldn't want deep drums. You know, that to me, spirit is more ethereal than, you know, if I wanted to connect with earth, if, for example, if I really wanted to connect and ground and feel my kind of, you know, primordial self, my primal being, then I'm feeling like really deep drumming and that deep connection and, you know, sort of maybe dance or something kind of a bit lower, I wouldn't say lower vibration, but lower sound anyway, would take me there. And I suppose that would be one of the beautiful things about working with you and certainly your husband sounds like he would really be able to kind of tailor make that with all the different instruments. And
he has a different kind of understanding. Like, he feels music a lot. He's very talented in that way. And, you know, he has, I mean, he doesn't like me calling him shaman, but he's heard it from lots of people. He has a shamanic aura. So he basically envelops quite large space and he feels everyone and he feels the people and he feels what they need. And he's just so on point with it and with the sounds and the music. And sometimes it can be something as simple as a little koshi bell or something like that. But it creates that right frequency. It's like it takes you exactly where you need to go, you know. Yeah. And it's very important. Actually, that reminds me, you mentioned at the beginning of our talk about when people making sounds.
Yeah.
So energetically, your throat is connected with your root chakra.
Yeah.
Which is, for example, why, you know, when women birth, they make a sound. Yeah. So their neck here opens and the cervical neck also opens.
Yeah.
So a lot of people making sounds, for example, they feel like they need to scream because they're actually releasing from the root.
Yeah.
You know, they're healing the root chakra or the second chakra.
Yeah.
But yeah, this, you know, people yawning, shaking,
Yeah.
I used to wonder like what's with the shaking. So I asked the questions, and I got my answer. But then again, I have a quite scientific mind, which is an interesting combination. I have a very, very developed intuition, I'd say. But at the same time, like I like things explained scientifically, logically. I like to have that understanding, to have the balance.
That's good. That shows your energies in balance.
So yeah, perhaps, I don't know. But I found a practice called TRE exercise. I don't know if you've heard of it, where literally there's this doctor, I think he's called Dr. Barcelli. He's an Italian doctor who developed a technique for trauma. TRE stands for trauma releasing exercise. So you do very easy set of exercises where you literally induce this body shaking, and like trembling. You would do very gentle exercise prior to that, and then you lie on the floor, and it actually induces the shaking. And he discovered by working, I think he worked in like war zones, with severely traumatized children.
Yeah.
He was looking for a method to allow people to shake off literally a trauma, because it's one thing to understand it, to see it, cry it out over it, whatever you must do. But the other thing is that the trauma creates tension in certain places in the body and has to be released. So if you see people shaking in a ceremony, they're healing.
Yeah.
Unless they're cold.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I think you get that in a state of shock, don't you? When your body kind of just involuntarily shakes anyway. And you get that with birth as well, don't you? I found out about the throat chakra and the root chakra connection only in my 3rd pregnancy. So I was kind of like, if only I'd known, because it really was that case of opening up and letting, like, almost elongating the sound, really enabled me to kind of gauge and push. And she was by far my easiest birth and my biggest child.
Wow.
And I had a great experience with her. The other two was a bit crazy, but with her, it was brilliant. And I really felt that chakra connection throughout that whole birth. And I really did feel the connection between that. So that I can understand, fully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I love all this. I love how all the traditions from all over the world really come in and complement one another as well. Some of I got that information from a doula. I happened to meet this doula at the time that I was pregnant, and she was sort of saying, this is a really ancient, old, kind of almost an old wives' tale, but this is how we do it. This is how I would support you in birth. And so absolutely, if you've got any kind of fear issues, any issues about who you are, not being good enough, anything that's kind of about self-expression, then again, coming from the root up is cleansing and so powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic.
You mentioned I just had I do women's circles here in where I live in Spain, and we usually do them on the new moon and the full moon.
Yeah.
And a few days ago we had this doula who was running the circle, and she was talking about that. So I just remembered. But yeah, she also gave us lots of amazing tips, and it was interesting how the women were also sharing. It was a sharing circle as well. Everybody was able to share their birth story.
Yeah.
And I remember there was this one lady, she was talking about her experiences. She also had 3 kids, and she said that she found that voice, I think it was with the 3rd one as well. And she said that she was trying to make that sound, and then kind of felt like, whoa, she really needed to go like deep with the voice, like really, really deep, kind of connect with this raw, wild woman, go rah.
Yeah. Roar it out. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's how powerful sound is. And it's interesting as well, like that. I think one of the oldest traditions, ayahuasca is such an old tradition. No one can even really date it because it goes back so far in sort of almost folklore and medicine lore within the jungle, that they've integrated sound into that as well. I love that. Icaros.
Icaro, yeah.
Yeah, and with the
Shakapa.
I'm terrible for names. I'm good with faces.
There are some experiences in the silence as well, but it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So the shaman that we were learning from, he sometimes pauses, and he's a beautiful musician, by the way. He's got also amazing ceremonies. If somebody goes to Peru, I'm happy to pass on the contact. But, what was I going to say?
About the music and how the vibration is involved. And
yeah, it's incredible, really. So
Yeah, it's just again, it's kind of all bringing all this ethereal stuff that we don't, especially in the West, you don't really align it with being so therapeutic. I mean, it's opening up more and more now. We're talking about sound therapy. You know, you're talking about your husband. I have a friend who does sound therapy in India as well,
Mm.
and it's really beginning to become a little bit more mainstream. But again, it's been practiced for thousands and thousands of years in the East,
Yeah.
and
And
you know,
ayahuasca, we don't know really how long it's been there because, probably it might have been thousands of years as well, but it's just not been recorded. Yeah.
yeah,
So I just remember that I read this article. Of course, it's a speculation, but somebody said that where, in the Bible, they talk about Jesus drinking some kind of wine that made everybody feel amazing. They were actually speculating that it might have been either ayahuasca or something like that,
yeah,
perhaps a mushroom brew, because in these parts of the world it was mushrooms. Yeah, the Vikings were using mushrooms a lot. And it
yeah,
was always part of psychedelic medicine, was part of almost every culture. It's just plants were different depending on where in the world. But, for a very long time, um, the common people would not actually drink the ayahuasca. It was the shaman only.
yeah.
So if somebody came for healing, the shaman would drink it, and then he would have the visions about, whatever that person needs, or he would get visions about whatever is needed for the community. And it was only the recent, I don't know, 50 years or so where they started serving it for the people.
Oh, really? Is it that
So,
recent?
yeah, maybe a little longer, but very, very recent times when the shamans actually got a message that they need to start sharing it with the people.
Okay.
So if you want to look it up, there is, I don't know if you heard about Ayahuasca Manifesto. It's
No.
it's like a little book, which is it has been channeled
Yeah.
by a Peruvian shaman called Don Jose Campos,
Yeah.
and he channeled this message from the spirit of ayahuasca to share with the world. So it's a
Yeah.
message from the ayahuasca speaking exactly about where it comes from, what it wants, why is it on this planet, what is it trying to achieve. And he also talks about the fact that, yes, this was the tradition, that's how it was, but, the world is in need, very urgent need of opening up the consciousness. Therefore, she's allowing not only for the normal, average person to consume her, but also for people to train faster, to have facilitators who are not necessarily from shamanic lineage, as long as they have pure intention, understanding, and, ideally some therapeutic background.
Mm.
They're good to go as well if they've had a proper training and they know what they're doing at least.
Yeah.
So all of that is described. So you can look that up as well. It's available for free. So he had it channeled basically from the spirit of ayahuasca, and he has it on his website. It's been translated to several languages as well. And I do recommend for people to read that as well. It's a very good info also, as much as we can understand, because I think ayahuasca has things to offer which, our brain is a little bit too narrow still to really get it, what she does. I feel like it's a spirit from very, very high dimension.
Yeah.
And to comprehend what happens in the body, in the spirit, on the energy levels, it's probably not possible fully for us. But there is a good information in the manifesto about what happens, how she works therapeutically, how she works on the psyche, on the body as well. Even the vine on its own has a lot of therapeutic purposes for people. It cleanses you from parasites, for example. It really alkalizes the body. It does a lot of great things. So there is also a form of therapy where people microdosing, for example, purely the ayahuasca vine. It has no psychedelic,
Yeah.
it's just the vine itself. But yeah, so it's good as a medicine, even just for the body.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
with all the the acid that we produce in our within our lifestyles, within stress and everything. Now it sounds like
Yeah.
just the vine on itself would be an amazing treatment to try, or holistic herb to be able to try.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
brilliant.
Well,
Okay, what else do I have? Let me have a look quickly, because I'm getting like, oh, there's so much, and I'm worried the time's running out.
not
So
enough time.
yeah, exactly. So, okay, all right. So, one thing I was going to ask is, do you see, when you experience through ayahuasca, do you almost see your life as a third person? That's how it was described in one of the articles that I read, that actually it's almost like you come out of your, I don't know really how to describe it, but almost out of the sense the person that experienced the trauma, and you look at it on the outside, almost like, I think you said, like it's all laid out in front of you. Would you agree with that you become almost an observer?
hmm Most of the time, yes. But I'm just trying to remember now. I've had experiences where I, for example, connected with, or there's one particular that comes in mind that was a very key experience for my future work as well with the medicine. Because, you know, from the moment where we started getting messages that we're going to be working with her into the actual work, it took a while because, you know, we had this idea that we need to be training for 20 years,
Yes.
so on. And, you know, I think we're probably a little bit too humble maybe for it, you know, very like cautious, like really, am I the right person? Do I have the right intentions? Have I been prepared enough? And so on. And, you know, what I discovered as well is that I had a block in me, which came from a past life where, you know, in my vision, somebody might believe it or not, in my vision, I was living in Eastern Europe, and I was you know, a good witch, you could say, you know, a sorceress. And I basically got burned at the stake. So
Wow.
that happened to me more than once, but in that particular experience was when I cursed myself because in the vision what I saw, so it was like a movie, but I was very much in that movie playing the role. So I wasn't observing myself. I was in it.
Yeah.
And I basically saw myself being captured by people that I knew, people that I helped, people that I healed in the past, who came for me, you know, came to me for herbs and different things. And they capture me out of fear, out of just, you know, not understanding and lack of consciousness. And because I had a daughter who appeared to me to be about 7 years old at the time, plus minus, they said that if I'm a witch, then she's going to be a witch as well. So they burned us together.
Wow.
And I went through this experience of actually feeling like I'm being burned. I literally had to feel it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I felt it to the bone, you know, so I was rolling on the floor and screaming.
Yeah, no, I can totally believe that. I've had past life where I've literally felt it in my body and I haven't been able to move. I haven't.
So I had to move through that and really feel it in the body in order to get to a point where I basically shouted out, I block all of my psychic abilities. I block everything. I don't want it ever, ever. And so I had to go back to that to unlock it, you know, and to forgive.
Hear that from a past life from however long ago type thing, and just because it's still resonant in yourself now.
Yeah, but I actually, you know, I'm sharing it. It's quite a deep experience, but I'm sharing that because I feel like a lot of other women can relate to that.
Yeah.
And I felt it a lot also since I came to Spain because, of course, the Andalusian mountains were apparently where a lot of witches were hiding and the druids, and, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Spain has a huge history, shall we say, for really debilitating women on all sorts of levels. You know, that just cut responsibilities down and abilities and keeping them housebound. And I mean, about loads of
but I come from Poland originally, and Poland was severely oppressed. And so this life experience that I had was in Poland, and I went for a ceremony with a friend. I went as a participant to do my own work because, of course, I still do a lot of my own work. And coincidentally or not, the way it showed up in my vision was that we were in the exact spot where that happened.
Wow.
So it was very powerful.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot to be released, you know, and like, you know, when I'm looking at what's happening also in the global consciousness, in the collective, women are going through massive change, and a lot of women are healing this kind of things, you know, all this oppression through patriarchy, through religion, you know, wrongly practiced religion, shall I say.
Yeah.
And, you know, just, times of darkness.
Being oppressed under them. I mean, I did a show on this about masculine energy and feminine energy, and how the divine masculine, divine feminine are rising and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I came to understand through, again, all my research was how the shadow masculine has been prevalent for thousands of years. You know, it's not even about the divine feminine being oppressed so much as it only the shadow masculine really manifesting through power, through greed, you know, and it's such I don't want to say disappointment, because it is what it has to be. It is, you know, it is the journey. It's not that, but it's just like, I want more for men than that. You know, I want them to really express that. I feel like I mean, I've had some visions in my life where I've literally had the message and a download that it's all about, both men and women taking hands and moving forward together. Only together can we really rise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so again, it's kind of like actually through the work that I do, I want to enable as many people from, men, women, whatever, to be able to see the beauty in them and to be able to connect with the strength that they have within and to be able to move forward. And I suppose this is why ayahuasca has always felt like a little bit of a calling to me, because it's indiscriminate. There's no one experience that a woman's going to have or a man's going to have. It's going to be the journey that you need to have as an individual. And through the lifetimes that we've all experienced, you will have had experience as a woman. You will have had experience as a man. So you need to clear it all, because you need to clear and shift those energies and those conscious dimensions that we're bringing through birth after birth, so that we can all rise together. Because it's, you're not just doing it on the level that you're at now. You're doing lifetimes past and lifetimes future, and it's imperative that we all get into that place of being able to heal, so that we can rise
and of course, ayahuasca is a female energy, is a feminine energy. So when men come for a ceremony, they soften, they put these walls down. You can get to the heart, they open up. And women is like one of the things that my husband realized. The first ceremony we went to, there was, it was also big. It was over 80 people. And there was lots of women. And, after the ceremony, you just see them bloom. They're like flowers. And he was walking around and he's like, look at all these women. They're beautiful. It's a different energy. When the woman steps into her feminine, it's a completely different energy, and she's in her power, but from a, not from a different place, So, and that's also, because of the balance of the energies, I feel like, we've been both feeling from the beginning that we really need to work together, and there's something special about that we're gonna do this together.
I can imagine. It's a great journey for the both of you as well, isn't it? Like, for you both to go through that deep kind of clearing, understanding as well. That's the other thing. It's kind of, I know a lot of people who are on their own journey and they're very conscious and they're very aware, but their partner perhaps is a little bit in a different space. Let's just say it like that. Everyone's on their own journey, but there's periods of time when someone's kind of just moving that little bit quicker, and it's almost like a waiting game. So I imagine that actually there's a lot of power in that, both for you guys to be able to kind of move forward together and stuff and rise and clear stuff and rise, and be able to understand from a personal level what it is that your partner's going through, and that you need to give them that time to adjust, that time to clear, that time to balance, all that sort of stuff as well.
Definitely. But that's also why, you were asking me in a message before about the work with couples. Why would you work with the couple? That's why. Because, to have ayahuasca, let's say you were here and your partner's roughly the same, and then you go for a ceremony like that and you have this understanding, then you basically jump. And suddenly you're going to start to go like that. It depends on the people, obviously, but I've seen it happen, when one partner, for example, does a lot of inner work, whether it's ayahuasca or anything else, it can be other practices, they might be going on the Vipassana every year. But if somebody is evolving much faster than their partner, then it can cause an issue. So that's one reason. But the other is as well that when you have this medicine, your heart completely opens and you look into the eyes of your partner and you basically see him soul to soul. It's a completely different connection. It's so bonding. Oh, the shaman who we were learning from, he also said to us when we were in the jungle, you have to be very careful. It's very easy to fall in love on ayahuasca. Because you see people, you see their true beauty, you look into someone's eyes and you see their true beauty, you see their spirit, it's like all the masks come off, all the walls go down, and this person's blooming, Of course, then they go back to their regular life. And gradually sometimes they put these walls back on because they have to go and live in a city like London, and, but yeah. You really see people, you see into them, like they say in Avatar, I see you. Bit like that.
I can imagine. I think it's brilliant. And so with ayahuasca, would you say that it allows you to see the world like in a higher dimensional form. When you say like your heart opens, and from my experience of heart opening through chakra meditations and all that sort of thing, it's almost like you transcend and go into a different place where it's clearer. I think is one of just, I don't know, just more. Just literally going, because I can't really describe anything. There's just, it's much more open. It's lighter. It's just easier. And
when you expand, so like the lower you go in the frequency, the denser it gets. But when you expand, it is lighter, literally. So it's lighter, it's less dense, everything's more fluid, and you're also able to see, let's say, the bigger picture of everything. You start to have an understanding, it's like you look from this, let's say, perspective here of me with my life and my little problems, and suddenly you shift yourself to the higher self perspective, and you suddenly see that, okay, so this happened because, that was meant to come next, and so on and so on. I like to use this analogy as well. Somebody told me this story. Imagine that you're going down a river, let's say, in a little canoe, and you have your guardian angel above you, and he's guiding you. I don't know if you've heard this. And he's guiding you and telling you where to go, and it's a jungle river and he has lots of turns. And, and suddenly he tells you, okay, right now you have to go to the shore, you have to pick up your boat, carry it on your shoulder for 3 miles. And you look at this angel and you go, he's an idiot. Look at this jungle. It's so thick. Like, how am I going to go through this? And the boat is heavy and so on. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? An angel says, like, you have to trust me. You need to pick up that boat and carry on your shoulders. So, you go and you take it on your shoulders and you struggle and, you fall down on the floor because it's heavy and so on. But you go and you do it. And surely enough, 2 miles later, you realize that there was this massive waterfall. And if you stayed on the boat, you would have killed yourself. But you had no way of knowing because it was around the corner. So, it's basically the same. So you have this bigger perspective on everything. All of your problems seem to be more trivial, because you start to see the reasons why, all the puzzles come together. All of your past experiences, all of your traumas, all of your hurts from the childhood start to make sense. I remember I had this really one of the most profound experiences was when I was healing my relationship with my father. And, it was my intention to work on that relationship. And I asked for healing to, I thought that I had to forgive him, because he was really mistreating me. Let's just say it lightly. And I had this vision where I looked at myself being a spirit planning to come to the planet. And I picked him as my father. And I contacted him when he was asleep. And I basically made contact with his spirit. And I said to him, okay, I would like you to be my father. This is my script for my life. This is how it's going to be. But listen, when I'm going to be 30-something, I'm going to start to do this healing work. And in order for me to become that person, I'm going to really need you to do this, this, and this, and that. And you're going to be abusing, you're going to be beating me, you're going to be calling me names, you're going to completely shatter my confidence, and so on and so on. And he basically looked at it and he said, I can't do that. That's horrible. And of course, the way I perceived him in that vision, he was, this beautiful, pure spirit, full of love and peace. So, he looked at my plan. He's like, I'm not doing that. And I said, listen, this is very important because we got to do this work for the people. Look what's going to be happening when I'm 40, 50, 60, and so on. And he's like, all right then. But he said, you're going to have to promise me one thing. You're going to remember one day. So we made that promise and we made a pact. And I have a shivers now. I'm talking about it. I swear to God, when I had this understanding, my father completely changed. He changed his attitude and I literally felt him. I didn't see him because I was miles away. I was in the jungle and he was in Poland. But I literally felt him like, finally, she got it. I can be myself now. I know. I don't have to be playing this role anymore. And you can apply...
Without you even knowing.
You can apply this to many things and many people in your life who you think hurt you, but they only served you in the way that you needed to be served. You come here to have life experience. If you want to experience forgiveness on the highest level, you're going to need something and someone to forgive for,
Absolutely.
So I think that's very important for people to see and to understand. And when they come for experiences like ayahuasca or even other forms of healing, to just open your mind a little bit and consider that the things that happened to you had a meaning and it was for your higher purpose.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
there's it all, you just got to find it. And sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper, and sometimes
Yeah.
you go through a little bit of hell before you understand exactly why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So
that's
how you said
encapsulates
with the work with the partner, for example, you said what it's like, to work with a partner. It's
yeah.
beautiful, of course, but it has many challenges because we are evolving so fast through this work and through other things we do. We also, like I said, we're still doing a lot of work on ourselves. So we use also other methods to combine with ayahuasca. I really like family constellations, for example, and different forms of healing. And we all the time having some processes going on, and we are the opposites. So we are a great match, but we also the opposites. I'm a Cancer, he's a Capricorn, he's a
Yeah.
fire, I'm a water. It's like all the time this polarity and
Yeah.
this dance of coming closer.
Yeah. But then it couldn't be any other way sometimes. Like my husband's a Capricorn, I'm a Virgo, so I got the same thing as well.
All right. Okay.
And they're not easy, the Capricorns. I tell you, I love him dearly, but they're not easy. They're very strong. He's very strong. But yeah, I mean, again, it couldn't, like, for me, it's like the match that challenges me. And I think that's the thing as well. We are very different. But always that challenge, isn't it, as well? And you need that challenge. And I think that's, again, why the ayahuasca almost appeals to me, is that it is a big challenge. It's not a light undertaking. You're not going to kind of have 20 minutes of a little high and it's going to make you feel great. You're going to connect out with the world. It's a deep soul experience. And one that will teach you something if you're open to it and if you are prepared to learn. And I love the fact that your intention, I kind of feel like intentions are the way to live life anyway. So I love that about the process. And thank you so much for talking to me about this today, Anna. And it's been absolutely fascinating. I feel like you've just dropped
My pleasure.
at the right time. Thank you, universe. Tell us all a little bit about your the work that you do and how people can get in contact with you. I know you've got a website and people can contact you. I put the link actually in the Conscious Consumer Network profile thing for this program, so people can go on there if they haven't got a pen and paper or iPhone or whatever it is people do now to record information. But it's you tell it.
Okay, so we're just in the process of creating a community, which, the mission of it, let's say, is to bring up the knowledge of all kinds of sacred plants, not just with ayahuasca. We work with other plants also. So the website would be sacredplants.org. That should be fairly easy to remember. And we also have a page on Facebook. It's the Sacred Plants Community. So if you type in facebook.com/Sacred Plants Community, then you find us. There's lots of information there about other plants that we work with and how to use them with consciousness, like cannabis or San Pedro or different kinds of herbs. And so, people can get in touch through that. The Sacred Plants website, I'll just say, is being built. So there's not a lot of info on it. So just bear with us. There will be a shop as well on that website because we do like to have a flow of creative energy always. So we're making things like, these pipes for the rapé snuff and things like that, and handcrafts and talismans and things like this. And we have a little esoteric section where we have sage and santo sticks and oils and things like that. Yeah. So this is coming soon. It's literally being built. But if you want to get in touch, you can get in touch over Facebook as well through that page. We can put the links in as well. I also have my personal website, which, I actually linked to earlier. I'm a therapist, so it can be that as well. So, either one.
Especially if you're in Spain at the moment, is that?
We're in Spain at the moment, yeah. So we offer different kinds of things. We offer one-to-one sessions. We also do consulting for people. They don't have to necessarily come and drink ayahuasca with us, but perhaps if somebody's been to the jungle or somewhere else and they need help with integrating the process or understanding, then we're happy to help through that as well. And different types of ceremonies and experiences, sound healing, meditations, ceremonies with rapé. That can also be ceremonially, by the way. Yeah, like a milder form of meditation. And ceremonies, with the ayahuasca, with the group. There are also night and day ceremonies. We didn't talk about that, but it's another topic. We're going to be here forever.
Great talking to you. Thank you for being so honest. Thank you for sharing so much. I know, I mean, I've been absolutely thrilled to listen and to participate in this conversation. I hope everybody at home has been listening and enjoying this as well, and feels like maybe the world of ayahuasca has just opened up a little bit, and maybe has something to offer them if they're struggling, or if you're feeling like there's things that you need to clear, there's issues that are holding you back in life, or anything like that. From the research that I've done, and from certainly everything that Anna shared with us today, I feel like let go of some of the fear and take that step into healing, if you feel so called, and just allow, I think, the natural energy of the world, that's coming through from this plant, to really enable you to open, certainly your heart chakra. I think that's one of the things that I feel most for myself that the world needs right now, and I've spoken on this before. So the fact that you can kind of really open your heart chakra and see all this beauty, and clear the negative stuff to be able to see your own beauty, for me is really something that there's no price on that. That is absolutely priceless. It would be something that will take you and stay with you throughout your life. So I feel very strongly that I've been called to experience this anyway, but I really feel now, having spoken to you, Anna, as well, and done the research that I've done over the last couple of weeks, that this is something that there's a definite need for it. I'm definitely going to go and download that. What was it called? The Ayahuasca Manifesto.
Manifesto, yeah.
Yeah.
I can also provide a link for that.
I won't speak for the next few hours.
I have it on the PDF, because I was actually translating into Polish as well, which was a bit of a mission, but
yeah, can imagine. But it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and thank you for watching. And I hope we connect again soon, Anna. Thanks so much.
Take care. Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Humanity has been on an epic journey of discovery, learning the truth about the world we live in. New discoveries about the true origins of humanity, ancient history, free energy, as well as the systematic corruption of world governments are now on the forefront of our daily reality. Is the world headed towards destruction based on control and power? Or is an opportunity now being presented to shift and uplift into a higher consciousness? My name is Mel V, co-founder and creative director of Conscious Consumer Network, an independent broadcast network that was launched on the 1st of January 2015. In the last 3 years, Conscious Consumer Network has broadcast over 2,800 shows in multiple languages, featuring guests from across the world, whilst creating media that is aimed at the creation of a free, fair, peaceful, just, sustainable world. Conscious Consumer Network provides full training and an interactive support network for all broadcasters, and we are always looking for inspiring and educational content.
Hi, this is Lainey Liberty.
And this is Mira Siegel.
In 2018, Conscious Consumer Network has expanded to multiple broadcast locations, increasing our availability and reach across the world, remaining on the cutting edge of independent media. If we wish to create a better world, we must first create better media, geared towards real education instead of indoctrination.
You guys really are what changing the world is going to be about. It's educating kids at a grassroots level.
Having become a pillar of stability in the turbulent world of independent media, we have even more going on in 2018. Conscious Consumer Network is a publicly funded network, and we rely on all of you to keep us on the air. Show your support for independent media by donating to our 2018 Network Support Fund. Dare to seek a better world. Support independent media.